friends! In today's video, we're going to be transplanting all of our asparagus. There's two things that led to us doing this. The first is when we planted them 2 years ago, I don't think we planted them deeply enough. I was kind of worried about growing in our heavy clay soil. And then also digging and trenching for asparagus is just hard, and I think I was being a little bit lazy. So we dug a little bit and then we piled soil on top to come up with that depth, but I don't think it worked out super well, and I think they were planted too shallow and now they're not thriving. So that's the first reason. The second reason is even more definitive, which is we recently got a survey of our property in preparation for a very exciting project that's coming soon. And we discovered that our property line is not where we thought it was. So actually half of this asparagus bed is planted on our neighbor's property. So we have to dig those up and deal with that. Now, when transplanting asparagus, and honestly, kind of anything, it's important to do that while the plants are dormant. So that leaves me with two options, either the fall or late winter, early spring. I decided to opt for the winter spring time because I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put them by fall of last year. So I decided to push it off until now. I also think the timing feels a little bit easier to me to gauge in the late winter and early spring. In the fall, I want to give those plants as much time to get energy through the foliage they have left, but I want to plant them early enough that they don't get burned by the cold, that they have enough time to establish before it turns into really cold winter. Because I'm planting in late winter, early spring, all of the ferns have already died back. So it's definitely dormant, and I just want to move these before the crowns show signs of new growth for this season. So here we are, the first week of March, and it's our first day in the 2025 garden. Let's do it. All right, welcome to my very messy garden. Here is a look at our asparagus crowns. You can see the remnants of the ferns, which is what the little asparagus grow into throughout the season. These are 3-year-old crowns. We bought them as 1-year-old crowns and planted them 2 years ago. We can see where the crowns are buried because the fern remnants are left over. If I pull away these leaves, we can see where the old asparagus spears grew out of the soil. And this is going to tell me where that crown is based and where I'm going to want to dig. So this is our asparagus bed, and that stake with the pink tie around it is our property line, which runs right through this bed, which is why we are going to have to move these crowns. So we are going to prep the bed where we're transplanting all these crowns, starting by raking back all of the leaves. We pile all our leaves in the garden, which helps keep our soil healthy over the winter when there's nothing growing in it.
Leave that in.
We decided to rake off the good topsoil in this bed before getting into trenching for the crowns. That way we can top dress with it when we're all done. Next, I'm measuring to try to get an idea of how many crowns we can fit in this bed and what we are going to try for spacing. I've seen a variety of recommendations, but generally I've seen that it's recommended you plant asparagus anywhere from 8 to 18 inches apart, with rows that are 3 or more feet apart. We obviously don't have the space for that for this number of crowns. I have seen it suggested that you can put the rows closer together and they will be just fine. After measuring and taking stock of how many crowns we had to plant, we decided to go for a square foot gardening style spacing. So we are planting these 18 inches apart in all directions. We will see how that works out. This is roughly how we had them before, but they were only in 2 rows in a long rectangular bed. So this will be more of an experiment for us on whether this close spacing works or not. This is the only space that we have to allocate for these right now. So we are just working with what we've got and hoping that it works out okay. So we will see how this goes. But that's kind of what gardening is a lot of the time anyway. We do a lot of trial and error, and that's okay because I think that's how we all figure out what works for our specific spaces, microclimates, soil types, etc. So all that to say, this is what we're doing. It may or may not work. So if you follow this style of planting and plant everything this densely, just be forewarned, it may or may not turn out well. I'll let you know in about a year if this works. Dirt is so nice. Oh no. Ah. Okay. I accidentally cut some of these roots. They're close to each other. While Greg is working on digging the bed where we're going to transplant, I'm going to get started in digging up these crowns. Like I said, these are 3-year-old crowns, so they've had some time to establish and their roots have expanded quite a bit, especially for the ones that were buried a little bit more thoroughly. So I'm starting pretty wide, like 12-ish inches away from the base of the ferns to try to find the edges of the roots so I can dig these up without damaging them too much. The roots of asparagus grow mostly horizontally away from the central base of the crown. So I'm honestly not digging down very much under the crown. The most work is digging out far enough and being gentle enough to uncover the roots without damaging them. I think some of these were planted a little too close together the first time, or some of them, they just spread out enough that their roots are a little entangled at the ends as well. So it just takes patience to get each crown out with as little breakage as possible.
So not very deep.
Well, that's part of the problem, I think.
Gotcha.
We needed to do it deeper. So, but they're definitely like 5. You can kind of see here as I unearth these what I'm talking about, where the roots run mostly horizontal and they all kind of splay out from the central growth point.
Something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy,
17 to go.
Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond dawn.
I think this one is most fun.
I'll take it. I got some holes already. So if you start putting them in where you want them, I will dig the rest of the hole and move the dirt on the ones that you've placed.
Yeah. All these. As you can see, this quickly turned into a giant mess. Unfortunately, planting asparagus crowns is kind of an ordeal. Because these have had 2 years to bulk up, their roots are so wide that we couldn't even trench. So we ended up just having to dig up this whole bed to lay everything down well. We don't love disturbing the soil this much, but sometimes we do have to do this just for one-time planting situations. Here is one of these big, beautiful crowns that we have, and it's finally time to plant. We are aiming to plant these crowns 6 to 8 inches below the soil surface. Because of this splayed out root structure of the crowns, I am making little mounds of dirt for the center of the crown to rest on. This allows the roots to lay nicely around the crown without getting smashed flat against the ground underneath. Since these crowns have already been growing in our soil, they have some dirt keeping the roots somewhat in place, so it isn't as important or tricky as it would be if I was planting brand new crowns, but it's still something I want to be mindful of, and it helps to have a little mound underneath, especially for the bigger crowns that have super long roots.
Do you recall when we were young, running from all things at once, without thinking twice? And I knew it would catch up, and that we would be the ones left behind. The stories I've been told, they never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am on, I gotta stay here for some time. Time has gone and I grew up. I somehow made it through without losing sight. And I still wonder where you are, and if you found a way out from the dark. The stories I've been told, they never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am on, I gotta stay here for.
Now that we've got all of our crowns buried, we're just replacing the topsoil that we raked off at the beginning and recovering this bed with leaves. It doesn't look like much, but this is a huge job checked off the list for us. We'll see how these crowns do. This is a bit of an experiment for us, but I know that if we didn't move them, we'd lose at least half of them anyway, so any of these that make it through will be a win for us. Thanks for joining me for our very first day in the 2025 garden, friends. Hit that subscribe button to follow along and watch my 2025 garden grow. Until next time.
If you found a way